Hello everyone, I am Jasper G. Torimocha from Section G1 of Social Work 104, a first year student of Bachelor of Science in Social Work in Caraga State University main campus. Today, I will going to report the feminism theory of Carol Gilligan. But before we proceed to his theory, let us know who is Carol Gilligan. Who is Carol Gilligan? Carol Gilligan, born on November 28, 1936, New York, US, and American development psychologist by known for his research in the moral development of girls and women. Gilligan earned a bachelor degree in English literature and Swarthmore College in 1958, a master degree in clinical psychology at Radcliffe College in 1961, and a PhD in social psychology at Harvard University in 1964. She was a lecturer and tutor of the University of Chicago and at Harvard before joining Harvard's Graduate School of Education as assistant professor in 1971. She was promoted an associate professor in 1979 and full professor in 1986. She, she served as Patricia Alberts Professor of Gender Studies at School of Education from 1997 to 2002 when she was appointed University Professor of Humanities and Applied Psychology at New York University. Carol Gilligan is a psychologist best known for her innovative views of development of women's morality and sense of self, which she detailed in her 1982 books in The Different Voice. Gilligan developed her ideas in response to the theory of moral development proposed by Lawrence Kalburch, which she criticized for ignoring women's perspectives. History of Carol Gilligan's theory. Gilligan received her PhD in social psychology from Harvard University in 1964, and by 1967 was working as a research assistant to Lawrence Kalburch at her alma mater. Gilligan's arguments against Kalburch's theory of moral development. Kalburch's theory of moral development consists of three levels: pre-conventional morality, conventional morality, and post-conventional morality, each made up of two stages. At the lowest, the pre-conventional level, the needs of self are prioritized. This evolved into conventional level to an understanding of how to be a moral member of society. Finally, at the highest level, the post-conventional level, at the individual adopt a universal idea of justice. Colbert observed that the most people want to reach the high stages of the skill but would stop developing morally and middle stages at the conventional level. And that's exactly what research showed. However, while both girls and boys tended to score at the conventional level on Colbert's scale, girl scored predominantly at the stage 3, which is concerned with being good person in order to maintain the goodwill at the approval of others, while the most boys scored the stages 4, which is focused on adhering to the norms and laws of society.
This made it seem like men reach higher levels of morality than women, but Gilligan noted that Calvert's theory was formulated exclusively through research with young white males. As a result, she suggests that Calvert's theory is biased toward men and boys and doesn't account for women and girls' perspective on morality.
Prioritize an ethics of justice where morality is concerned on abstract principles and rules that can't be applied equally to everyone. Meanwhile, women prioritize an ethics of care, where morality is centered on interpersonal relationship and moral judgment is based on the context of an issue. Gilligan conducted several interviews studies with girls and women, including one with women who are deciding whether to have an abortion in order to flesh out her ideas about women's morality. The goal of her work was to be demonstrate that women don't necessarily stop developing morally before men do, but that their moral development follows a different trajectory than that outlined in Calvert's theory. Gilligan's stages of morality development: pre-conventional morality, conventional morality, and post-conventional morality. Gilligan's research in the abortion decision study led her to detail her own stage theory of moral development, which she detailed in a 1971 article that she expected into her book in a different voice. Gilligan's theory used the same basic three-level outline as Calvert's, along with two transitions between the levels. The levels are transition are outlined below. Pre-conventional morality. At the pre-conventional level, moral judgment is entirely focused on the self and the need to survive. When a conflict arises between the needs of the self and the needs of others, a woman will choose to address her own needs. Transition 1. During the first transition from the pre-conventional to the conventional level, the women realized that she needed a responsibility to others. It is the first time to she realized her previous moral perspective could be characterized as selfish. Conventional morality. At the conventional level, moral judgments become concentrated on caring for others. The women start to see herself as a participant in society whose claim to be a good citizen relies on helping and protecting others. This concern for others overrides her concern for herself, leading to a morality focused on self-sacrifice. Transition 2. During the second transition from the conventional to the post-conventional level, the women start to experience tension between the needs of others and the needs of the self. She begins to realize she must strike a better balance between her needs and the needs of others. This leads to shift in moral judgment away from goodness to truth. As she starts to honestly assess her own desires, not just her responsibility to others. Post-conventional morality. At the post-conventional level, moral judgment is dedicated by the principles of non-violence. The needs of the self are just as important as the needs of others, which causes the women to arrive at a universal ethic of care and concern, adhering to the obligation of care while avoiding harm or exploitation to herself and others enables the women to accept responsibility for her choices. Gilligan didn't identify specific ages when the level of moral development will be reached. However, as Calvert did in his story, she noted some women might to reach the highest level. She also observed that it was not life experience that pushed a woman to higher levels, but cognitive ability, and changes in a woman's sense of self. The ethics of care and the developing sense of self. Movement through Gilligan stages of moral development, hangings on the involved sense of self. At the pre-conventional level, only the needs of self are recognized. At the conventional level, the needs of other are prioritized, while the needs of the self are denied. At the post-conventional level, a balance is struck between the needs of self and others. Transition through this level is based on a woman's reconsideration of what she considered self. Throughout these levels, women's sense of self and the sense of morality that arises because of it are driven by their feelings of connection and responsibility toward others, which gradually evolve to encompass the other, then expand encompass everyone, including the self. Ethics of care focus on the morality and the integrity of women, which primarily center on the interpersonal relationship. Feminine values such as gentleness, sympathy, and genuine caring are devalued and demand and deemed a rival in a public world where self-rule and power thrive. Carol Gilligan, a feminist theory and psychologist, presumes that the morality of women is merely different from the concerning men's, and that is not at all inferior as her male. Counterparts claim it to be she proudly opposed the theories of moral development devised her colleague Calburge, who only confined the study of males. His study neglect as a woman's ability to possess self-legislated ethical dogma. Critics of Gilligan's theory. While Gilligan's ideas were groundbreaking, some feminist psychologists have also criticized them because they treat women's voices as a single homogeneous entity while ignoring the diversity of women based on age, class, race, and other factors. Moreover, some have expressed concern over the suggestion that women emphasize care and connection more than men, arguing that this reinforces traditional ideas about femininity while potentially continuing to push women to caregiver roles. Gilligan observations have also been critiqued as the result of societal expectation of women and men, not innate gender differences which means that men's and women's moral development would follow different paths of society's expectation were different. Conclusion. Gilligan argued that there are two moral orientations. One emphasizes justice and one emphasizes care. Studies have shown that men tend to emphasize ethics of justice and women an ethics of care. Research has also found that men utilize a Dutch intellectual approach while women use a subjective person approach. The moral development of men and women tends to follow different trajectories that emphasize different things. Women and girls often to prioritize relationship and care over rules and principles. There are approaches to ethical dilemmas in their professionals, academic, and personal lives are likely to contrast with men and boys. Although both genders understood another's moral perspective, men and women were unable to comfortable adapt the other's approach, demonstrating a divide consists while Gilligan's idea. That's all about my report, and I hope you enjoy watching and learn something. Thank you.